many now who see the big lie. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, wherever you're situated on this great big, beautiful blue globe floating through the void of Yah's creation. It is the 19th of May. It's a Monday. It's 2025. And hey, mainstream, legacy media, and all the alternative networks out there, yeah, you too. Guess what? I don't believe you anymore because you won't be trusted anymore. All right, welcome to the Monday edition of the WTF Reports. I'm your host, Dave vonKleist. And as always, I humbly and respectfully request that you visit our website, TheWTFReports.com, and share it with your friends. If you're listening on Rumble or BitChute or YouTube, remember to click like and share and, get the word out, and subscribe too. So anyway, that said, oh my goodness, so much stuff has happened over the weekend, and I have to tell you, I'm going to start today's program off with pointing out that we conservatives here on the, on the right side, yeah, right. On this network, the Red State Talk Radio Network, a lot of us, like to point our fingers at the liberals and say that, you guys, you just close your eyes, you plug your ears, and you go, la, 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 la. You don't want to hear anything that might upset your schema of the world. Well, you know what? Unfortunately, we have conservatives that are doing exactly the same thing. We also like to point our fingers at the legacy media and say, you're propagandists, you're manipulating, and you're gaslighting, and you're lying. Well, guess what? The right side of the networks that are out there, they're just as guilty. They are just as guilty. So I don't care if you're a Republican or a Demopublican, the truth will stand alone. A lie always needs another lie for support, but the truth will stand alone. And unfortunately, I'm seeing so many of these conservative networks that have popped up in the past decade. You got Newsmax, and you got OAN, and you've got Right Side News Network, or whatever it is. But there's a lot of conservative networks that have popped up there, and they're just as much involved in propaganda as the left-leaning networks are. And with that, I'm going to start this broadcast off with taking a look at what happened over the weekend. Now, we've got, let me see, where do I start? There was a big announcement. Well, I'm going to lead into that. I'm going to start off with with some news coverage that was on CBS and Fox, and this is in regard to the Epstein, shall we say, the unaliving of Jeffrey Epstein. Now, give a listen to this particular report. This is coming from CBS and from Fox. Listen up.
Dr. Michael Baden observed the 4-hour autopsy for Jeffrey Epstein's brother, Mark.
Do you think there was foul play here?
The forensic evidence released so far, including the autopsy, point much more to murder and strangulation than the suicide and suicidal hanging. I hesitate to make a final opinion until all the evidence is in.
Well, that's former New York City medical examiner Michael Baden on 60 Minutes saying Jeffrey Epstein's autopsy photos paint a different picture of the convicted sex offender's death, which was officially ruled a suicide by hanging. As new images taken inside Epstein's Manhattan jail cell show several nooses made from bed sheets, pills, and also electrical cords. There were some prescription drugs found. Brian Yennis joining us now live in our studio with what we are seeing and hearing.
Listen carefully.
Sandra, good morning. Fox News has obtained new photos giving us a first-time look inside the jail cell where Jeffrey Epstein was found dead on the morning of August 10th. The photos taken by New York City's medical examiner's office show his bunk bed, piles of sheets, and bed linens all over Epstein's cell. A note and ballpoint pen were also found in which Epstein writes about conditions inside the federal jail Metropolitan Correctional Center. Quote, giant bugs crawling over my hands, no fun. Claims guards sent him burnt food and kept him locked in a shower stall. It also appears Epstein had a sleep apnea machine inside the jail cell with a long electrical cord. All of this raises questions for renowned forensic pathologist Dr. Michael Baden, hired by Epstein's brother to preside over Epstein's autopsy. If Epstein was such a suicide threat, why did he have access to a ballpoint pen and an electrical cord? Baden believes that the evidence points to more now that this may have been a homicide. Fox News has also obtained photos of Epstein's autopsy. We are about to show one of those photos, but a warning to our viewers, the photo is graphic.
Okay, I'm going to stop it right here. They're going to show the photo, and what they see, unfortunately, here's radio. You can't see it. But the photograph clearly shows that around his neck there was a piercing, a scar, a wound, as if somebody had taken an electrical cord and tightened it so much that it broke the skin. All right, so you could see the wound goes all the way around the neck. Okay? And that's important. Let's continue.
Here is the photo. You can see the bloody line around the middle of Epstein's neck. Epstein had 3 fractures in his neck, which
3 fractures in his neck. Keep going.
Dr. Baden had never seen in a suicidal hanging. He says this wound is more common in strangulation by wire cord.
Bingo. Okay, somebody wrapped a wire cord around that. At least that's what the photograph indicates.
He also says the ligature mark on the neck does not match the 2 nooses found inside of Epstein's jail cell. These photos show orange bed sheets tied in the shape of 2 nooses, which appear to have no blood on them.
Okay, did you get that? There were 2 bedsheet nooses made, and there was no sign of blood on either one, and yet the wound on his neck was clearly a big open wound across his neck. Let's continue on.
CBS News is reporting that one of the cameras pointing toward Epstein's jail cell door was not working that night. Attorney General William Barr, Sandra, said he has reviewed surveillance video himself that shows no one entered the area where Epstein was housed the entire night of his death. Sandra.
A lot to take in there. Brian Yanis, thank you for your reporting on that.
Okay, so that was the original reporting on Epstein's quote-unquote, suicide or homicide. Which was it? Either way, he's unalived. Let's fast forward to a press conference with Carolyn Levitt, and here's what was discussed in the press conference in regard to Epstein's death. Here it is.
Thank you. And my only other question for you is, so over the weekend, President Trump posted Truth Social a video highlighting what most people call the Clinton body count, which is the strange number of suicides that seem to happen in Clinton circles.
Okay, I'm going to pause it right there. Now, we all know that there was a very strong connection between Bill Clinton and Jeffrey Epstein, all right? And we also know that the Clinton body count, I forget how many, it's in the 90s, I think it is now. How many people commit suicide because they're associated with one particular person or a group of persons? It's very suspect indeed. So let's just keep that in mind. We know that there was a very strong connection between Bill Clinton, the Clintons, and Jeffrey Epstein. Now we carry on.
I have a headline here from the Washington Post that said, Trump peddles false conspiracy theories tying the Clintons to several deaths. So I just wanted to highlight real quick, this wasn't in Trump's video, but this is from the Arkansas Times, and it's the death of Mark Middleton, who was a former Clinton White House aide, who was found dead on a Clinton Foundation property. And I'll just quote from the Arkansas Times. Middleton apparently shot himself in the chest with a shotgun and also hung himself from a tree with an extension cord. So I have no idea how somebody commits suicide that way, but if the Washington Post is here, maybe you can enlighten us as to how that was actually a suicide. So anyways, that's just a lead into my question about the most famous Clinton-related suicide, which is...
Okay, listen up. Now, he just was talking about a connection between the Clintons and a quote-unquote suicide in which the individual shot himself in the chest with a shotgun and hanged himself with an electrical cord. We just heard about that in the previous clip, didn't we? Let's listen more.
That of Jeffrey Epstein. There's still a lot of questions around that case. You've released phase 1 of the Epstein files. What was missing from that is any connection to his ties to intelligence agencies, and
Bingo.
That's really the whole story. That not just trafficking young girls, but doing it on behalf of intelligence agencies, and even potentially as part of a blackmail ring with potential ties to the Israeli government. So, for phase 2, when can we expect it? Will it have information pertaining to those aspects of the Epstein case?
I know the Attorney General has committed to releasing those files. I would defer. the Department of Justice on her timeline, but when she's made a promise in the past, she has kept it, and I'm certain that she will in this case as well.
Okay, so there's a connection being made with Epstein, and he said Middle Eastern intelligence, and then he actually mentioned Israel. Now we know, I mean, a high school kid that's been following any of this stuff, we all know that Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell had ties to Israeli Mossad. Ghislaine Maxwell's father, Robert Maxwell, was a Mossad agent. And they specialized in blackmailing people. Those are the facts. Those are facts. Now, let's go over and listen to Dan Bongino for a minute. Okay, now for those of you that listened, I didn't listen a lot to him, but when he was on the radio before he was brought in as assistant director of the FBI, we heard numerous times, countless times, Bongino saying that Epstein didn't kill himself. Okay, now let's listen to a clip from Dan Bongino here.
About a year and a half after that, I'm in a green room at Fox, and I'm not going to say who because they didn't give me permission to share it, but the short story, but I know who they are. It says, you know, Epstein's an intelligence asset for people in the Middle East, right? I'm like, no, I didn't know that. I'm like, you sure of that? The person, let's say, is like, I'm absolutely sure of that he's either a witting or unwitting asset, intelligence asset, meaning his plane and that island, the cameras, there's a big assumption out there that these videotapes were exclusively in the custody of Epstein. That's a huge mistake.
True.
The reason they wanted this story to go away is because there's an assumption like, oh yeah, Epstein had him. No, he wasn't the only one who had him, according to this source. These assets, that's why this blackmail story makes so much sense. Which Middle Eastern countries they are, I don't know. But
what do you mean, which Middle Eastern countries? I don't know. Noodle on that one, folks. He carries on.
This person who is a very, very good reporter, I mean, aces, right? Swore Epstein was either a witting or unwitting intelligence asset, and they may have had his plane wired up, and they're the ones who have all this stuff. So the point is, to sum it up, how do you know some of these countries aren't going to some of these power players who aren't making decisions? Because, hey, you wouldn't want this video out there, right? How do you know?
100%.
I wonder which Middle Eastern country could possibly have those videos, Dan Bongino. Which Middle Eastern country? Can you say it? I don't think you can say it. You know why? Because he has his priorities. He was asked, what cause is near and dear to your heart? Here's his response.
What cause is dear to your heart?
Cause is dear to my Israel, the defense of Israel.
Okay, so we're getting an idea of where Bongino's coming from. For whatever reason, he cannot or will not connect the dots between Epstein, the Mossad, and Israel. In some Middle Eastern country, he says. And then he admits that Israel is the cause near and dear to his heart. He can't figure that out, huh? Well, Glorioski, what do you know? Over the weekend, Kash Patel and Dan Bongino were on television, and Dan Bongino was looking very sheepish, I must say. Listen to what Kash Patel and Dan Bongino had to say over the weekend.
You said Jeffrey Epstein committed suicide. People don't believe it.
Well, I mean, listen, they have a right to their opinion, but as someone who has worked as a public defender, as a prosecutor, who's been in that prison system, who's been in the Metropolitan Detention Center, who's been in segregated housing, you know a suicide when you see one, and that's what that was.
He killed himself. You want me to get... I've seen the whole file. He killed himself.
Okay, that was Bongino tagging up behind Kash Patel. Now all of a sudden, oh yeah, he killed himself. What is it, Dan Bongino? Either he was suicided or he wasn't. And then, of course, there's another statement from Kash Patel. Listen to this.
We will shut off the machinery that feeds money into Iran. We will no longer have 100 hostages still in captivity, Israeli and American and otherwise, by Hamas and Iran's Hezbollah mercenary forces. We need America to wake up and prioritize Israel, bring home Israelis, and make sure we stand by our number one ally in Israel.
Now it's all starting to come clear. Isn't it interesting that those being detained by Israel are prisoners, as if they're guilty of something? Yeah, those 12-year-old kids that threw a rock at a tank. Yeah, if you're being detained by Israel, you're a prisoner. But if Hamas is holding somebody, they're hostages. You see the difference? We're being gaslit here, folks. Well, I got to tell you, people are seeing through it. People are absolutely seeing through it. And the support for Israel, I mean, the media is always right there for Israel. Give a listen to this.
We have anti-Semitism all over our college campuses.
We will stand with Israel
to support Israel with whatever they need, whenever they need it. It is not that Israel needs America. America needs Israel.
The founding vision of Israel is
America is here, no matter what it is you need at any time, to preserve the state of Israel.
With a question from Matthew Brooks, the CEO of the Republican Jewish Coalition.
Jewish students across the country are threatened.
Surge of anti-Semitism across this country. Anti-Semitism.
Any campus that allows for anti-Semitism, you should lose your federal funding today. I would deport you.
No, it's the anti-Semitism that's spiraling out of control.
Jewish students and synagogues.
Anti-Semitism is just as awful as racism. The Jewish people
providing Israel with the $14 billion that they need. We are 100% undeniably standing shoulder to shoulder with Israel.
When we make sure that we have the backs of our friends, whether it's in Israel.
It's anti-Semitic, horrible stuff. Making sure that Israel, in that Israel situation, Israel must be defended.
On behalf of the Republican National Committee and all of us at NBC News, good night, everyone, from Miami.
Okay, so I don't want you to put words in my mouth. I am not an anti-Semite. I do not hate Jews, okay? I don't hate blacks. I don't hate anybody. The difference, though, is there's a difference between Judaism, which is a religion, and Zionism, which is political dogma. You can't compare the two. You can't lump them together. That's like saying, okay, we're going to have Christians and auto mechanics. It just doesn't work. All right? Zionism is a political concept. Judaism is a religion. We've got to make sure that we understand that, because there are so many people that are exposing Zionism, and there are those that are trying to lump the two together. Dan Bongino, did you ever do that? Give a listen.
I want you to understand, we have actual terrorists calling to kill the Jews on American streets right now.
No, they're not.
Anyone who thinks out there that these people are your friends, you are insane. These people want to kill you in a second. They will kill you, the Jewish guy next to you, and the Hindu guy next to him in a heartbeat.
Okay, he's trying to tell everybody that if you're out there protesting, that means that those protesters want to kill the Jews. But they don't want to kill the Jews. They're trying to point out Zionism. And there are millions of Jewish folks out there trying to do the same thing. So what are you going to do, Dan Bongino? You're going to call all those Orthodox Jews that are out there screaming against Israel, they hate Jews? Let's see, the Orthodox Jews hate the Jews, right? Doesn't make sense. And this is why they're trying to lump Zionism and Judaism together. This is their plan.
And yet, because the administration perceives them as potential street muscle after an election, they will do nothing about it. Oh, Dan, they're not talking about killing the Jews. No, they're actually talking about killing the Jews. Nothing to see here first, folks. Here's just a bunch of terrorists on American soil calling for Hezbollah to kill the Zionists right here.
Okay, yeah, kill the Zionists. Okay, that's different than saying kill the Jews. And here's what they were chanting.
Check this out.
Make us proud. Kill another soldier now. Kill another soldier now. Hezbollah, Hezbollah. Kill another Zionist now. Kill another Zionist.
Hat tip Timcast on that. These are actual terrorists. Can you imagine a group of people in MAGA hats talking about kill the socialists now? You would be in jail tomorrow. You know it. You would be in the gulag tomorrow. Don't even pretend.
Mm-hmm. Okay, Dan, I guess you just can't discern between Zionism and Judaism. Well, there are a lot of people all over the world who can understand the difference between Zionism and Judaism. Now, people are all over the world are saying, hey, Israel is a rogue regime that have wrapped themselves in the flag representing the Jewish faith, and they're carrying out absolute atrocities. And people are seeing it. You can't wrap yourself in the flag, call yourself a Jew, and do everything that's against Judaism. Jews and Christians have the same 10 commandments. And yet everything that Israel is doing is opposed to that. Let's give a listen to some other people talking about Israel.
Can you see what I can see? According to Pew Research Center's new report this year, 53% of U.S. voters now dislike Israel. 3 years ago, it was 32%. Also, according to James Zogby's poll this year, 38% of Republicans agreeing with the International Criminal Court's finding on Israel, which Israel is committing genocide in Gaza, and also the arrest warrant. 38% of Republicans, and only 36% of them disagree. So there are 2% more now. Can you see what I can see? The US government had agreement with the Houthis that the US militaries will no longer attack on Houthis as long as they stop attacking American ships. Throughout the negotiation, until the agreement, Israel had nothing to do with this. By that means, if the Houthis attacks Israel, the US will not respond. At the 5th of this month, the Houthi declares that Yemenis will work to impose a comprehensive air blockade on Israel by targeting the country's airports and ask all the airlines to stop flying to Israel for their own safety. Imagine how this is going to happen to Israel's economy. There are also reports saying that Trump is very disappointed at Netanyahu and he wants to deal with the Middle East without Israel. And on today, the New York Times declared that this Israeli government is not our ally.
Bingo.
Not only that, the Jerusalem Post come up with the article saying that Donald Trump and his government is about to recognize a Palestinian state. Like, can you see what I can see? That there is a major policy change that is happening right now in the US. That was just like the last stage of the apartheid South Africa. Can you see what I can see? That a slogan I'm about to say is about to turn into a reality. From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free.
Mm-hmm. America is waking up. The world is waking up. Our neighbors to the north, the Canadian Jews, are waking up. Here's one of the Canadian Jews speaking on the subject.
Many of us of Israeli origin, many of us descendant from Holocaust survivors, we feel a particular sense of responsibility to stand up against the reprehensible crimes being perpetrated in our name by the state of Israel. Yet we say not in our names, not just as Jews, but also as Canadians, on account of Canada's deep complicity with Israel's crimes. This complicity comes in many forms, from the arms trade to the suppression of speech on Palestine through false accusations of anti-Semitism, for example. It also comes through taxpayer-subsidized charitable donations to Israeli organizations, several of whom are directly and deeply implicated in Israeli war crimes. Through one organization, just one of these, Mizrahi Canada, Canadians can donate to radical settler group Women in Green, which has an ongoing fundraising campaign entitled Demolish, Enter, Remain in Gaza. They can donate to Im Tirtzu, which publicly brags about participating in blockading aid trucks getting into Gaza, which could be Canadian aid as well. You can go to their website And you can click, donate in charitable funds, and it'll take you to this Mizrahi Canada website to donate. They can donate to an undercover IDF unit known for assassinating Palestinians, the Duvdevan unit. They can even donate directly to the illegal West Bank settlement of Israeli Finance Minister Bezalel Smotrich, as another example. And you can get tax breaks for doing that, subsidized by the rest of us, including Palestinian Canadians. Let that sink in a little bit. It's now been 2 months since IJV, along with Miles Howe, who you hear from in a minute, and Just Peace Advocates, sent a public letter to the Minister of National Revenue, Marie-Claude Bibeau. This letter follows decades of official complaints from our organizations with hundreds, if not thousands, of pages of incriminating evidence about organizations like Mizrahi Canada, like the Jewish National Fund of Canada, like the Ne'eman Foundation. There's a long list. Yet despite the mountain of evidence showing these organizations violating Canadian law, these organizations continue to get off scot-free by successive liberal and conservative governments. This is not just a few bad apples. This is a systemic issue that requires systemic solutions to make sure that, as MP Ashton rightly stated, not 1 cent of Canadian tax dollars goes to funding genocide.
Bingo. So like I'm saying, and I'm here with the audio receipts. You can attack me if you want. You could say, oh, Dave hates this, Dave this, Dave that. No, I'm here with the audio receipts, folks. It's not Dave saying it. You're hearing it directly from the horse's mouth. And people all over the world are recognizing what's going on in Israel. And Israel, Netanyahu and his cabinet, it looks to me like they're trying to foment a holy war. And unfortunately, as the world is waking up, they might not be, they're going to be on the receiving end of that. I don't know. But we do have 3 major religions in this world. There's Islam, Christianity, and Judaism. And all 3 of those religions want to dominate the world. Islam says, yes, the whole world will be Muslim. The whole world will be, Islamic. And the Jews are saying basically the same thing, the Talmudic Jews anyway, different from the Torah Jews. And the Christians, they want to evangelize and bring everybody to Christ. So how's this going to work out? If we're going to have 3 major religions, and if you can pit one against the other, that means the third will end up sitting on the sidelines watching the fray. So who's manipulating who? Who's zooming who here? I don't know. But anyway, we're going to take a little break. I guess there's a new a medication on the market. It's called a brain. Here it is.
I used to believe everything I'd see on the news, but that's before I discovered a brain.
A brain is meant for everyday use. Those living with moderate to severe stupidity have seen immediate improvement in common sense with a brain.
I thought the government had my best interests at heart, and then a friend told me about a brain.
Talk to your doctor about what news sources you obey. A brain may also lower your desire to take life-altering advice from celebrities.
Getting lectured about my carbon footprint from people with 3 private jets used to make sense. But thanks to a brain, now I can think for myself every day. When my disregard for 3rd grade biology began to flare up, I knew it was time for a brain.
Do not try a brain if you're allergic to a brain. Common side effects may include accountability, discernment, homeschooling your kids, a better understanding of economics, awareness of the stupidity of socialism, and diarrhea.
For tethering yourself to reality, the only no-brainer is choosing a brain. Ask your doctor if a brain is right for you.
For more information, visit tryabrain.com.
Get More Tank will save you money every month on gas. Get More Tank is a tablet with active ingredients that adds big mileage to every tank. Made in America, the Get More Tank formula is used by trucking companies and heavy industry. Now the Get More Tank formula is available to you. Get More Tank works in any gas or diesel engine, cleans your engine, lowers emissions, and you'll feel improved engine performance every time you step on the gas. Get More Tank works for cars, trucks, boats, motorcycles, four-wheelers, mowers, and blowers. Hey, if you got an engine, then Get More Tank. Contractors, electricians, plumbers, plumbers, painters, and lawn service companies, Get More Tank will save you money and extend the life of your engines. If you're an owner-operator running your big rig around the town or across the country, Get More Tank will save you money too. If you're a farmer, all of your equipment can use Get More Tank. A 5-pack on sale at GetMoreTank.com for just $22.22 plus shipping. Use the promo code RedPill101 and get 10% off. Save your money, save your engine, save the earth at GetMoreTank.com. Get More Tank is EPA registered, doesn't void warranties, results vary. And you can get More Tank again if you visit our website, TheWTFReports.com. Go to the sponsors page and you'll find a link right there to Get More Tank. You can go to their website, get all the technical data, and find out exactly how that will affect your vehicle, whether it's gas or diesel, whether it's a riding mower or a chainsaw. If it runs on any type of gasoline or diesel fuel, Get More Tank will increase engine performance, and in your vehicle, it'll increase your mileage between 15 and 20% with regular use. So please, check it out. Get More Tank at our website, TheWTFReports.com. And while you're there, you might also want to check out the Wave Watch. Now, I've been in contact with John Banber. His mom is the one who developed the Wave Watch, which is Rife technology that you wear on your wrist. And I'm in the process of confirming a possible guest of having Linda join us on Thursday. But I haven't got confirmation on that yet. But if that does happen, I'll let you know tomorrow. And definitely want to tune into that because I'm using the Wave Watch 2.0 now. And this one is smaller, it's easier to navigate, and it's got more frequencies. So, and again, I'm not here to advise or to say that this is going to treat or cure or anything like that. But we do know that Royal Raymond Rife was on par with Nikola Tesla, who said frequency is everything. And that's what the Wave Watch is based upon, frequencies. So anyway, if you'd like more information, go to our website, TheWTFReports.com, and check out the Wave Watch. All right, that said, let's see, it's about 23 minutes before the hour, or shall I say, let's go the other way. It's 37 minutes past the hour, whatever hour you're sitting in. And yes, we are talking about the difference between Judaism and Zionism. It's a whole different ball game, folks. And I got a couple of clips here. This is Dr. Myriam Francois discussing Israel. Listen to what she has to say.
There is no putting lipstick on a pig. This is looking psychotic. It seems from the outside there's not sufficient introspection on when it comes to Israelis themselves. We have seen the most deranged behavior from Israelis. And I'm not just even talking soldiers. We've seen deranged behavior from soldiers, but we've seen deranged mothers on TikTok dressing up their children with black eyes and missing teeth or making fun of parents losing babies. We've seen soldiers urinating on Palestinian captives, children attacked by dogs, sexual assault, rape. At a certain point, are Israelis aware that public perception today of Israel is of a deeply depraved society? I mean, you can put all the Hasbro spin that you want on this. There is no putting lipstick on a pig. This one is, there is no rollback. And I think what's particularly complicated is the lack of introspection that we are not seeing from Israelis. It's just, everyone's anti-Semitic, everyone hates the Jews. Really? You think that's why people hate Israel today? This is looking psychotic.
Yes, it is. And I hate to point it out, but yes, there have been many, many posts on social media from folks in Israel where they're out there dancing and making fun of all the Palestinians who have been blown to bits. And like she was just saying, again, that was from Dr. Myriam Francois. And yes, there are videos out there, parents dressing up their kids, blacking out their teeth, and making fun of the parents who have lost their children in these bombings and in the sniper attacks and in the drone strikes. I mean, this is horrendous. Now, this is not to say that all Israelis are like that. No. As a matter of fact, over the weekend, there were at least 100,000 Israelis marching to Gaza to protest the genocide. And yes, they're using that word. In some social media posts, you can't even say genocide. It's sort of like the hokey-pokey thingy-dingy. You can't say that word, the V word. The bottom line here is that, yes, there are good Israelis out there that see that the rogue regime is committing just horrendous atrocities, and they're out there protesting. But there are others out there that are celebrating the death and destruction and the maiming. In fact, there was a video that was put out there, it was almost a year ago now, where some of these Israelis were going down to the beach and putting their lawn chairs there to watch the explosions going off, 20 or 30 miles to the south. And they're just cheering on the destruction of Palestine. There's something definitely wrong with these people, and the world is seeing it. They're understanding it. And there's something very, very wrong about that. Now, there's another writer. Her name is Alison Weir. And again, the issue is not Judaism. It's not about hating Jews or wanting to kill Jews or being an anti-Semite. And we all know by now, if you've done any research whatsoever, you'd know that the Palestinians are the Semites, not the Israelis. Anyway, that's another topic of discussion. But here's Alison Weir describing her research on the origins and the promotion of Zionism. Not Judaism, Zionism. Give a listen.
The precursor to today's AIPAC, one of the most powerful lobbies in Washington, D.C., according to Fortune magazine, it's in the top 2, is something called the American Israel Public Affairs Committee, AIPAC. Well, the direct predecessor to AIPAC was something called the American Zionist Emergency Council, AZEC. This was founded in about 1939, and by 1943, it had a budget of $500,000 at a time when a nickel bought a loaf of bread. By 1939, it had access to a larger fund that was $14 million, and by 1948, $150 million. I believe in today's dollars, I believe that's about $1 billion that they had access to use to propagandize every sector of U.S. society. They not only had lots of money, they used it well. Again, they had written documents about what they were doing. This is written down. They had annual reports about what they were doing. So AZEC specifically targeted congressmen, Christian clergy, editors, professors, both business and labor, Jewish war veterans. They especially targeted the Jewish population with Zionist propaganda. They created hundreds of local committees around the United States. They funded books, made major bestsellers. Other books they didn't like, they called the author anti-Semitic and would bury them. They worked to manufacture Christian support, since the majority of the population was Christian. So they specifically used secret funding to have some Christian groups that would also push the Zionist movement of creating a Jewish state in Palestine. During all of this time, there was surprising opposition to Zionism from diverse sources. Some of the most distinguished American pastors at the time opposed Zionism for moral and religious reasons. Some went to the Paris peace talks to specifically argue on behalf of self-determination for the Arab peoples. One Dead Sea scholar wrote a wonderful book called Palestine is Our Business. Jewish anti-Zionists were also extremely active, opposing Zionism. Elmer Berger, Alfred Lilienthal both wrote very powerful books. The State Department, the Pentagon, the intelligence agencies were also opposed to Zionism. This is thoroughly documented in my book. I have quite a few quotes, starting under President Taft. The Secretary of State opposed Zionism. Under Wilson, he sent a group to look at the situation in Palestine, to explore the feasibility of creating a Jewish state in Palestine. The group came back with an extremely powerful report saying it would be a grave trespass on the rights of the people, that Zionism should be abandoned. But their report was buried and had no impact. There was quote after quote saying that this would be wrong, that it would damage the United States, that it would hurt American strategic interests, that it would place America in danger if we supported Zionism. But Harry Truman, like politicians today, our current one and our past president, both basically say, I'm sorry, but I have to answer to hundreds of thousands who are anxious for the success of Zionism. I do not have hundreds of thousands of Arabs among my constituents. That was Harry Truman. And that's what everybody else has basically said since.
That's right, unfortunately. You know, there's not hundreds of thousands of Muslims out there screaming against it. Well, they should. Well, I don't know. Maybe there are. Maybe there are at this point. But, yeah, the world is waking up to what Zionism is. And unfortunately, yeah, this goes all the way back to the 30s and 40s. And the Zionist influence on our government has grown and grown and grown and grown. And so now we're almost at the point where these are the United Zionist States of America. Now, I don't know how some Christian groups out there, I mean, Pastor Hagee, you know, he beats his chest and says, you know, he used to be against the New World Order and all this stuff back in the 90s, and I was fist pumping. Yeah, you go, boy. But something got to him. And so I don't understand how people out there who call themselves Zionist Jews, that's an oxymoron. Zionism was based on, was it 1894, Theodore Herzl established Zionism, and he was an atheist. So how does Zionism and Christianity go together? I just don't see it. I don't. Anyway, and I know I'm spending the entire broadcast on this, but this is because we conservatives out here, we're being gaslit as well. You know, the simple fact that Dan Bongino refuses to connect Jeffrey Epstein with the Israeli Mossad, and he says those videotapes are being used for blackmail by some Middle Eastern country. Can't figure out which one, golly gosh. Come on, Danny boy. So, is Dan Bongino, has he been compromised? Has Kash Patel been compromised? Are there names on any one of those lists? Whether they be the Epstein list or the P. Diddy list or what have you. And I mentioned it last week. I mean, let's go back to the Anthony Weiner laptop. Just filled with information about sex trafficking and all the bad stuff that he was involved with. And we never got to have, got a chance to get a look at some of that stuff. No, that's still under wraps. The Anthony Weiner laptop and Pizzagate and all that stuff. Of course, that's all just conspiracy theory, right? And then, of course, not just the Anthony Weiner laptop, but then there's the Hunter Biden laptop. And that was never really discussed in the mainstream. There is a guy, excuse me, a website, I believe it's called Marco Polo or something like that. I'll see if I can pull it up. But that has a very in-depth analysis of the Hunter Biden laptop. And don't kid yourself, folks. There have been many, many, many copies of the Hunter Biden laptop circulated all over the world. The world has this information, but the mainstream media, no, they don't want to talk about that. It's still under wraps. And, of course, Pam Bondi's out there saying, okay, we're going to release the Epstein files. What was it, a month ago? And she handed out these folders, and everybody had a big smile on their face. I got the information. I got that. And they take it home, and they open it up, and I look at it. Well, wait a minute. We already knew all this stuff. Where's the real meat? Where's the meat to this story? Well, we haven't gotten that yet. Oh, Pam Bondi says, there's over 10,000 videos we have to go through, and we can't divulge that information because of all the innocent people that are involved. Okay, I get that. We're not asking for all 10,000 of those videos. Let's just take out a few of them. Just a few of them. But they don't want to release that information. So let's see. Anthony Weiner laptop? Nope, we're not talking about that. Hunter Biden laptop? Not talking about that. Epstein list? Not talking about that. And then there's the P. Diddy stuff, and they let out a few lists on that, but really, we're not talking about that either. I contend that the names and the people involved, I'm talking about the consumers of the sex trafficking. Not the people facilitating it. I'm talking about the consumers. Let the consumer list go out. But you see, they can't do that. Because unfortunately, the way I see it, this is my own personal opinion here, the names that would be divulged are the most powerful and famous people on the flippin' planet. And by releasing them, I do believe that they could basically rationalize that it would be a threat to national security and possibly global security if the names were released. And this is why the silence is deafening. So let's just keep that in mind. Are we conservatives being gaslit now? You know, we've been told to trust the plan. Trust the plan. Yeah. Trump is going to do it. He's going to bring world peace. We got to trust the plan. And yet they're all covering for the most evil regime that this world has ever seen.
Oh, you can't say that, Dave. We know that the Nazis were the worst ones.
Yeah, that number, 6 million, keeps coming up. 6 million. Wait a second. What about the Bolshevik revolution? Let's talk about and the numbers are unclear, but I've heard anywhere between 40 million and 60 million Christians were slaughtered during the Bolshevik Revolution. And who was behind the Bolshevik Revolution? Can't say that. No. Let's don't go down that rabbit hole. We mustn't talk about the Bolshevik Revolution. We mustn't talk about that or teach about that in the schools. Because we all know that Hitler was the worst, worst dictator in history. You know, that's what's been pounded in our heads over and over and over. And I'm not here to say that he was a great guy and all that. No, I'm not here to promote Hitler. But we're not being told about the Bolsheviks. I wonder why. Well, they say that history is written by those who hang the heroes, and I'm inclined to agree with that statement. Anyway, how are we going to come out of this mess? How do we stop the subterfuge? And again, conservatives, you're being gaslit just as much as the liberals are. All we want is the truth. That's all we want. And unfortunately, I have musical audio clips that I used to be able to play, but the algorithms on YouTube and several other the platforms, they recognize when you play somebody else's music and then you get a strike on your account. So I don't play John Lennon. All we want is the truth. I'm not going to play that. But anyway, but I can play my own music, and yeah, I'll do that. I will do that on occasion. Anyway, in an unrelated story, well, maybe it is related story. Listen to this. This is something that I remember seeing a long, long time ago, 20 years in fact. There was a presentation being given. When I first saw it, I thought it was Bill Gates, but it's not Bill Gates. But there was a presenter it looked like it was a lecture hall, you know, in universities and stuff. They got almost set up like an auditorium, and the lab bench is down below and a screen is behind, and the presenter is showing his scientific data. Well, give a listen to this, because I remember hearing about this 20 years ago. I talked about it when I was on the Power Hour. And this is some scary stuff, because what they're trying to do is they're trying to develop a vaccine that will shut down the brain and stop you from having any religious or spiritual desire. They call it the Funvax. Now, this is a presentation from 20 years ago. I'm going to play it. It's about 3.5, 4 minutes, something like that. And then I'm going to follow it up with some documentation. This is probably one of the most terrifying issues that we could face. If they're going to take the concept of spirituality and God from your brain, that's going to cut you off from your own soul, for God's sakes. Listen to this.
Who are religious, on the left over here, we have individuals who are religious fundamentalists, religious fanatics, and this is the expression, RT-PCR, real-time PCR expression of the VMAT2 gene. Over here, we have individuals. So let me complete. So over here, we have individuals who are not particularly fundamentalist, not particularly religious, and you can see there's a much reduced expression of this particular gene, the VMAT2 gene. Another evidence that supports our hypothesis for the development of this approach.
What you're suggesting here is by spreading this virus, we're going to eliminate individuals from donning on a bomb vest and going into a market and blowing up the market.
So our hypothesis is that these are fanatical people, that they have overexpression of the VMAT2 gene, and that by vaccinating them against this, we'll eliminate this behavior. So we have some very, very remarkable data in this next slide. Here we have two brain scans. These are fMRIs.
Okay, I'm going to pause it for a second. You can't see it, obviously, because this is audio, but he's showing a slide with two different brain scans. And he's showing one brain scan where a person is in a state of either prayer or meditation, and another one where the person is not. Okay, so carry on.
These are two different individuals with different levels of expression of VMAT2. On top is an individual who's a religious fanatic, an individual, and we've repeated.
Okay, now if you're spiritual, he's saying you're a religious fanatic. Any concept of spiritualism or religion or prayer or meditation is being bundled up and called fanaticism. Okay, let's keep going.
This numerous times that has high levels of VMAT2. Now, this individual down here who had low levels of the VMAT2 gene, this individual would self-describe as not particularly religious. In each case, these individuals were read a religious text. This individual lit up the right middle frontal gyrus, shown here, and that's a part of the brain that's associated with theory of mind. It's a part of the brain that has to do with intents and beliefs and desires.
Spiritualism.
In marked contrast, here's an individual who would not particularly self-describe as religious, and when they're read a religious text, what you see is that this part of the brain called the anterior insula lights up. This is a part of the brain that's associated with disgust or displeasure on hearing something.
So you're suggesting I take a CT scan with me when I'm evaluating people to determine whether I put a bullet in their head?
So the data that I'm presenting here supports the concept that we're proposing, and I think that we would not propose to do CT scans or fMRIs on individuals out in the hinterlands of Afghanistan. The virus would immunize against this VMAT2 gene, and that would have the effect that you see here, which is it's essentially to turn a fanatic into a normal person. And we think that will have major effects in the...
Okay, I'm going to stop it right there. This vaccine or treatment, whatever it is, would basically shut down that part of the brain where you become spiritual or you're involved in prayer or meditation. And he says that would make you a normal person.
The least.
How would you suggest that this is going to be dispersed? The aerosol?
Well, so the present plan and the tests that we've done so far have used respiratory viruses such as flu or rhinoviruses, and we believe that that's a satisfactory way to get the exposure of the largest part of the population. Most of us, of course, have been exposed to both of those viruses, and we're quite confident that this will be a very successful approach.
This is fascinating. What's the name of this proposal?
Yeah, so the name of this project is Funvax, which is the vaccine for religious fundamentalism.
Okay, I'm going to stop it right there. Okay, Funvax is what he called it. Get your paper and pencil, folks, out. Yeah, here it is. This is from Medcrave, MEDCRAVE. The headline, Vaccines Devised to Delete the Godgene. Vaccines devised to delete the Godgene. Now, you just heard, now this could be aerosolized. Can you imagine if they're spraying from the airplanes a virus or some sort of a contagion or whatever, that once you inhale it, it shuts down the part of your brain that decides you want to pray or connect with God? This is unbelievable. This is probably the worst thing you could possibly do. This would be worse than the hokey pokey thingy dingy. If they're going to shut down the part of the brain that connects you to God, I suggest we all get on our knees and pray real hard, because this is a spiritual battle, folks. Again, that was a presentation in 2005, and the article I just mentioned is from 2023. The Funvax. Yeah, isn't that fun? All All right, that's going to wrap it up for today's broadcast. I'll be back again tomorrow with more of the news they hope and pray you never hear. I'm Dave VonKleist, and please visit the website, TheWTFReports.com, as if we don't have enough reason to go, WTF! Holy moly. Okay, God bless you all. Stay safe, and above all, stay free. God bless you all, and I'll see you tomorrow.